You think you know ancient Greece, marble columns, wise philosophers, epic battles, but beneath the postcards and textbooks lies something darker. Mysteries that make archaeologists scratch their heads and physicists question what they know, stone wheels that shouldn't exist. Computers built 2,000 years before computers, maps that show lands nobody had discovered. Welcome to the Greece they don't teach you about, where every answer births 10 new questions. If you value documented ancient history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the Archaeological Institute of America and the British Journal of Archaeology. Now back to the story. 5 cases. 5 mysteries that refuse to die. These 5 unsolved puzzles from ancient Greece that still haunt scientists today. Number 1. The Antikythera mechanism, year 150 to 50 BCE. Recovered from a Roman shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901. What divers found shouldn't exist. A bronze device with 37 meshing gears, gear ratios calculated to predict eclipses, track planetary movements, and map the Olympic Games cycle with precision that wouldn't be matched until the 14th century. The main gear has 223 teeth. The Metonic cycle gear runs on a 19-year pattern. When you turn the handle, bronze pointers trace the paths of the sun, moon, and 5 known planets across a calendar that spans decades. Derek de Solla. Price spent 20 years dissecting the fragments. X-ray tomography revealed inscription reading Spiral of the Moon. Gear teeth worn smooth from use. Someone operated this machine regularly. The bronze corroded into a single mass, but the original device folded into a wooden case the size of a shoebox. Portable astronomy lab. Michael Wright built working replicas. They function exactly as designed, mechanical computer performing calculations that stumped Renaissance astronomers. The eclipse prediction dial operates on the Saros cycle, 223 lunar months spanning 18 years, 11 days, 8 hours. Ancient Babylonian astronomers knew this pattern, but the Antikythera device mechanizes it with bronze precision. Turn the crank 54 times, and the eclipse pointer advances exactly 1 position. Mathematical perfection cast in metal. Recent computed tomography scans revealed hidden inscriptions mentioning Venus and Mars by name. The device tracked retrograde planetary motion when planets appear to reverse direction against background stars. Greek astronomers understood this optical illusion required complex orbital mechanics. The mechanism's gear trains calculate planetary positions accurate to 1 degree across 4-year cycles. Hipparchus developed trigonometry on roads around 160 BCE. The Antikythera mechanism incorporates his calculations into mechanical form. Gear ratios match his astronomical constants. Lunar month equals 29 and 1/2 days. Solar year equals 365 and 1/4 days. Theoretical mathematics transformed into practical engineering. The shipwreck dates to 65 BCE. Cargo included marble statues, bronze shields, and luxury glassware bound for Roman collectors. This wasn't some prototype locked in a workshop. Someone manufactured precision instruments for practical use. The gear cutting required metalworking skills that history claims didn't exist until medieval clockmakers. Bronze working temperatures exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius. Hand-forged gears show consistent tooth spacing within 2% variation. Machine shop precision achieved with hammer and chisel. Who built it? The Greeks had no industrial revolution, no machine tools, no standardized measurements. Each gear tooth hand-filed to tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters. One error ruins the entire calculation. The smallest gear has 15 teeth, the largest has 223. Gear ratio calculations demand mathematical knowledge of prime numbers, fractional reduction, and astronomical periods spanning centuries. Whoever made this device understood mathematical principles that took Europe 15 centuries to rediscover. Cicero described similar devices owned by Archimedes and Posidonius. Marcus Marcellus captured 2 bronze spheres during the siege of Syracuse in 212 BCE, one showing star positions, another demonstrating planetary motions. Ancient sources mention mechanical astronomy as established technology, not revolutionary breakthrough. The Antikythera mechanism represents a surviving example of mass-produced scientific instruments. Accused, tried, silenced. Number 2, the Phaistos disc, year 1700 BCE. Discovered at the Minoan Palace of Phaistos in southern Crete by Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernio in 1908, fired clay disc 15.5 centimeters across, 241 symbols arranged in a spiral pattern reading from outside to center. 45 different pictographs, including human heads, fish, birds, tools, and geometric shapes, each symbol pressed into wet clay using individual stamps, movable type technology predating Gutenberg by 3,000 years. The spiral contains 241 total impressions, divided into 61 word groups separated by vertical lines. Side A has 123 symbols and 31 groups. Side B has 118 symbols and 30 groups. Statistical analysis shows the symbol frequency matches natural language patterns. Common symbols appear more often. Rare ones cluster in specific positions. This isn't random decoration, it's structured communication. Symbol analysis reveals linguistic sophistication. The feathered head appears 29 times, most frequent symbol suggesting common word like the or and. The shield occurs 19 times, always at word beginnings, indicating grammatical marker. The walking man symbol appears 13 times in specific contexts, suggesting verb forms. Computational linguistics identifies subject-verb-object-sentence structure matching Indo-European language families. John Chadwick applied cryptanalytic techniques used on linear B. Letter frequency distribution shows characteristics of inflected language with case endings and verb conjugations. Vowel to consonant ratios match ancient Greek and Anatolian languages. The disk contains approximately 200 words of connected prose. Not isolated vocabulary lists or ritual formulas, microscopic analysis reveals manufacturing secrets. Each stamp created identical impressions with consistent pressure depth. Bronze dies showed wear patterns from repeated use. The stamping sequence follows left to right reading direction with systematic spacing between word groups. Quality control demanded master craftsmanship. No smudged impressions, no overlapping stamps, no correction marks. Recent neutron activation analysis confirmed the clay originated from the Masara Plain in central Crete. Local pottery workshops operated at this location during Middle Minoan period. Chemical signature matches clay samples from nearby Minoan sites dated 1700 to 1500 BCE. The disc represents local production, not imported exotic artifact. Michael Ventris cracked linear B in 1952 by identifying place names and administrative terms. Arthur Evans decoded linear A fragments using bilingual inscriptions from Hagia Triada. Alice Kober developed a syllabic grid system that revealed grammatical patterns in unknown scripts. Dozens of linguists attacked the Phaistos disk using identical methods. Every attempt failed. The symbol set appears nowhere else in archaeological record. Minoan sites across Crete yielded thousands of linear A tablets, hieroglyphic seals, and painted inscriptions. None contain Phaistos disk symbols, no practice texts, no fragmentary examples, no developmental stages leading to the final form. The disk stands alone, unique writing system with no archaeological context. Statistical analysis by Gareth Owens identified recurring symbol combinations suggesting grammatical particles and phonetic values. Computer modeling tested thousands of possible decipherments against known ancient languages. Indo-European, Semitic, and Anatolian language families all produced plausible partial translations. None achieved complete consistency across the entire text. The stamping technology poses equal puzzles. Each pictograph required individual bronze or a wooden die carved in reverse mirror image. 45 different stamps demanded significant investment in tool production. Dies show wear patterns from extensive use, suggesting mass production of texts using movable type printing. Archaeological evidence shows no comparable printing technology until Chinese block printing in 7th century CE and Gutenberg's innovations in 1460. Quality control demanded systematic approaches. Uniform spacing required measurement standards. Consistent impression depth needed pressure regulation. Symbol alignment followed geometric guidelines invisible in the final product. Someone organized industrial-scale text production using standardized procedures that wouldn't reappear until medieval scriptoriums. The disc sits in the Heraclean Archaeological Museum, 45 symbols guarding their secrets. Linear A tablets from the same period remain partially decoded through comparative analysis with linear B. Cretan hieroglyphs yield partial translations using Egyptian and Anatolian parallels. The Phaistos disc holds its silence against every cryptanalytic assault. Cold, clay, mystery. Number 3. The Delphi Oracle's geological enigma, year 8th century BCE to 4th century CE. The most famous oracle in the ancient world operated from a temple complex built over natural geological formations in central Greece. Ancient sources describe the Pythia entering trance states, speaking prophecies while seated on a tripod above a chasm releasing vapors. Modern geology reveals why this location produced 15 centuries of documented altered consciousness. Gel de Boer and John Hale investigated the site in 1998. Ground-penetrating radar mapped fault lines directly beneath the temple foundations. 2 major fault systems intersect at precisely the spot where ancient sources placed the sacred tripod. The Kurna fault runs east-west, The Delphi Fault runs north-south. Tectonic stress along these fractures releases gases from deep limestone formations. Gas chromatography identified ethylene, methane, and hydrogen sulfide seeping from fissures in the temple floor. Ethylene produces euphoria and dissociative trance states at concentrations measured at the site. Ancient sources describe sweet-smelling vapors that induced prophetic visions. Ethylene smells sweet and causes precisely these neurological effects. The geology creates a natural anesthesia chamber. Bituminous limestone formations beneath Delphi contain hydrocarbon deposits formed over millions of years. Tectonic pressure along fault intersections forces these compounds upward through fractured rock. Ethylene concentrations peak during seismic activity when fault movement increases gas release rates. Ancient Greeks timed major consultations during periods of geological instability when vapor emissions reached maximum potency. But here's where science hits a wall. Oracle sessions operated on fixed schedules tied to Apollo's sacred calendar. The Pythia delivered coherent, often cryptic responses to specific political and military questions. Historical records show her prophecies influenced major decisions across the Mediterranean world. Leaders from Croesus of Lydia to Roman emperors consulted Delphi before critical campaigns. Plutarch served as priest at Delphi around 100 CE. He documented oracle procedures across 40 years of service. The Pythia purified herself in the Castalian spring, chewed laurel leaves, and drank water from the sacred Cassatus fountain before each session. These preparations occurred on the 7th day of each month during Apollo's presence, 8 months annually with 4-month winter closure when the god traveled to the Hyperboreans. Temperature monitoring shows fault gas emissions correlate precisely with ancient religious calendar. Peak ethylene release occurs during late spring and early autumn, exactly when historical sources record maximum oracle activity. The correlation spans 8 centuries of documented consultation records, preserved in temple archives and referenced by historians from Herodotus to Pausanias. How does random geological gas release produce politically relevant intelligence? Modern medical research shows ethylene exposure causes memory loss, spatial disorientation, and loss of motor control at concentrations measured in the temple chamber. Subjects exposed to similar doses in laboratory settings babble incoherently or lose consciousness entirely. The Pythia maintained enough cognitive function to process complex diplomatic questions and formulate responses that often proved strategically accurate. Archaeological evidence reveals sophisticated underground chamber system channeling gas flow beneath the temple. Stone conduits carved into bedrock directed vapors toward the tripod location. Bronze fittings regulated flow rates. Lead pipe fragments showed precision metalworking designed to concentrate gas emissions at specific locations. Ancient engineers understood fluid dynamics well enough to create controlled delivery system for naturally occurring psychoactive compounds. Herodotus recorded specific prophecies with verifiable historical outcomes. The oracle advised Athenians to trust their wooden walls before the Battle of Salamis. Themistocles interpreted this as naval strategy, leading to decisive Greek victory in 480 BCE. She warned Croesus that attacking Persia would destroy a great empire. His own fell to Cyrus in 546 BCE. Political accuracy suggests intelligence-gathering networks, not random chemical inspiration. Recent soil analysis identified unusual mineral deposits around the temple foundations. Rare earth elements appear in concentrations found only at active geological vents. Lead isotope ratios match deep limestone formations, confirming gas origin from subterranean sources. The sacred site sits precisely at geological intersection, producing optimal conditions for hydrocarbon emission. Pausanias described visiting Delphi in 2nd century CE. He witnessed the sacred chasm beneath the temple and observed gas emissions strong enough to extinguish torches. Roman engineers built ventilation systems to manage toxic accumulation. Temperature readings from fault intersection show gas release peaks during late spring and early autumn, exactly when ancient sources record peak oracle activity. The correlation spans 8 centuries of documented consultation. Modern subjects exposed to ethylene concentrations, matching ancient measurements, experience euphoria, followed by memory blackouts lasting several hours. The Pythia delivered coherent prophecies, remembered complex questions, and maintained consciousness throughout sessions lasting up to 6 hours. Either ancient Greeks possessed superior physiological tolerance to psychoactive compounds, or oracle procedures included methods for managing chemical exposure that modern science cannot identify. Oracle consultation fees generated massive revenue for Delphi. Cities paid gold and silver offerings worth millions in contemporary currency. The Siphnian treasury stored wealth equivalent to modern national budgets. Economic incentives demanded consistent performance over centuries of operation. Random drug-induced rambling couldn't sustain such extensive commercial operation. The oracle provided value that justified enormous investment from across the ancient world: geology, chemistry, impossibility. Number 4. The Lycurgus Cup's impossible optics. Year 4th century CE. Roman craftsmen created a glass chalice depicting King Lycurgus trapped in grapevines as divine punishment for opposing Dionysus. The cup sits in the British Museum, looking like ordinary green glass under normal lighting. Shine a light through it, and it transforms into glowing red transparency. Color-changing glass that stumped materials scientists until electron microscopy revealed the secret in 1990. Nanoparticles. The glass matrix contains colloidal gold and silver particles measuring 50 to 100 nanometers. When light passes through, these particles scatter specific wavelengths while transmitting others. Green light reflects off the surface. Red light penetrates and exits the opposite side. The optical effect requires precise control of particle size and distribution. Nanotechnology engineering executed with 4th century tools. Gang Logan Liu's team at University of Illinois analyzed glass fragments using transmission electron microscopy. The nanoparticle concentration measures 0.5% by weight, distributed evenly throughout the glass matrix. Higher concentrations muddy the optical effect by creating excessive scattering. Lower concentrations show no color change because insufficient particles interact with light wavelengths. Roman craftsmen achieved optimal concentration through either mathematical calculation or systematic experimentation spanning generations. The dichroic effect results from surface plasmon resonance, electrons and metal nanoparticles oscillating at frequencies matching specific light wavelengths. Gold particles absorb blue and green light while transmitting red and yellow. Silver particles enhance the scattering effect across the visible spectrum. The combination creates jade green reflection and ruby red transmission, transforming the cup's appearance based on viewing angle and lighting direction. Modern fiber optic technology exploits identical principles for wavelength division, multiplexing, and telecommunication systems. Roman glassmakers discovered surface plasmon resonance 15 centuries before physicists understood the underlying quantum mechanics. Ancient craftsmen manipulated electron behavior in metallic nanostructures without knowledge of atomic theory or electromagnetic radiation. The manufacturing process poses equal mysteries. Gold and silver particles form during glass cooling through carefully controlled heating cycles and atmospheric conditions. Temperature variations of 50 degrees Celsius alter particle size distribution, ruining the optical effect. Modern kilns use computer-controlled thermostats maintaining temperature within 5 degrees. Ancient furnaces relied on fuel management and draft control to achieve comparable precision. Archaeological evidence from glass workshops at Aquileia and Cologne shows Roman furnaces reaching temperatures exceeding 1,200 degrees Celsius using charcoal and sophisticated bellows systems. Fuel consumption calculations indicate heating cycles lasting 12 to 16 hours with constant temperature monitoring. Workshop remains contain bronze pyrometric cones, temperature indicators that melt at specific heat levels, providing ancient craftsmen with precision thermometry. The cup measures 14 centimeters tall with wall thickness, varying from 3 to 7 millimeters. Thicker sections show deeper red transmission, thinner areas appear lighter. The craftsman calculated wall thickness to optimize light transmission while maintaining structural integrity. Mathematical analysis reveals the thickness variation follows logarithmic curves that maximize optical effect across the entire surface. Only 12 examples of dichroic Roman glass survive worldwide. The Lycurgus cup represents the finest known specimen with most complete preservation of nanoparticle distribution. Similar fragments appear at villa sites in Pompeii, suggesting luxury market for color-changing glass among wealthy Roman collectors. Production required specialized knowledge, expensive materials, and extended manufacturing time. Pliny the Elder mentioned craftsmen who could make glass appear different colors depending on lighting conditions. His natural history describes workshops near Mount Vesuvius producing vessels that changed appearance as if by magic. Archaeological excavations at these sites recovered furnace remains and glass fragments showing dichroic properties. Ancient sources confirm the technology existed as established craft technique, not accidental discovery. Chemical analysis reveals additional complexity. Trace amounts of copper and antimony modify the optical properties. Copper enhances red transmission. Antimony strengthens green reflection. The precise chemical composition requires adding these elements during specific stages of glass formation. Too early, and they burn away. Too late, and they don't distribute evenly. Ancient recipes demanded exact timing based on visual cues and temperature estimation. Medieval glassmakers couldn't replicate the effect despite access to Roman workshop sites and broken examples. Islamic glass treatises from 9th century describe attempts to recreate color-changing vessels using gold leaf and silver powder. All attempts failed to achieve dichroic properties. The knowledge vanished with the collapse of Roman technical education systems. Venetian masters rediscovered dichroic principles in the Renaissance through different methods involving oil-based metal suspensions applied to glass surfaces. Their techniques created similar visual effects but lacked the internal nanoparticle structure of Roman examples. Modern reproduction requires electron beam lithography or laser ablation to achieve comparable particle control in glass matrix. The British Museum displays the Lycurgus cup under carefully controlled LED lighting that demonstrates both optical states. Museum conservators rotate the lighting every 30 minutes to prevent photo degradation of the ancient glass. Visitors see ordinary jade green chalice transform into glowing ruby transparency. 4 centuries of Roman engineering condensed into 40 seconds of impossible beauty. Reflection. Transmission, impossible. Number 5. The Maze of Knossos, acoustic mystery. Year 1500 BCE. Sir Arthur Evans excavated the Minoan Palace complex, starting in 1900. The famous labyrinth covers 8 acres with 1,400 rooms connected by corridors, staircases, and courtyards arranged in seemingly random patterns. Modern acoustic analysis reveals the maze functioned as a sophisticated sound management system, using principles that challenge architectural understanding. Igor Reznikov mapped acoustic properties throughout the palace complex in 2015 using precision sound measurement equipment. Sound waves behave differently in each section of the maze. The throne room amplifies whispered conversations spoken near the carved stone chair while filtering external noise from adjacent courtyards. Acoustic modeling shows the chamber design creates standing wave patterns that focus sound energy toward the throne position. Certain corridors create echo chambers that carry voices across vast distances through architectural acoustics. The Corridor of Processions stretches 87 meters with limestone walls designed to channel sound waves. A person speaking at normal volume near the south entrance can be heard clearly at the north exit, despite 3 direction changes and 2 elevation shifts. Sound transmission occurs through calculated reflection angles built into wall surfaces. Other passages muffle sound completely, creating zones of absolute silence within meters of high transmission areas. The Queen's Megaron sits adjacent to the noisy central courtyard, but remains acoustically isolated through double wall construction with air gaps that absorb vibration. Wall thickness measurements show systematic variation designed to control sound transmission rather than provide structural support. The central courtyard measures 52 meters by 28 meters, dimensions that create standing wave patterns at specific frequencies when crowds gather. Acoustic analysis reveals the space resonates at 440 Hz, the musical note A above middle C. When filled with people, their collective voices naturally harmonize at this frequency through architectural reinforcement. Bronze Age Minoans built an amphitheater tuned to human vocal harmony 15 centuries before Greek theaters incorporated acoustic design principles. Underground chambers beneath the main palace show even stranger properties. The so-called snake goddess sanctuary amplifies sounds originating from the surface courtyard, while remaining silent to noises from adjacent underground rooms. Acoustic modeling suggests the effect requires precise chamber dimensions and doorway positioning calculated using advanced mathematical principles. The room measures 12 meters by 8 meters with a 4-meter ceiling, ratios that create selective frequency filtering. Sound transmission tests using modern equipment confirm ancient acoustic engineering. Low-frequency sounds below 200 Hz travel freely throughout the complex via stone construction that conducts vibration. Mid-frequency sounds between 200 and 800 Hz follow predetermined paths through corridor design. High-frequency sounds above 800 Hz remain localized due to calculated absorption by specific wall materials and surface textures. Wall construction analysis reveals systematic acoustic design across the entire complex. Load-bearing requirements would dictate uniform thickness, but measurements show walls ranging from 30 centimeters to 2 meters thick with no structural justification. Thick walls absorb sound through mass, thin walls transmit vibration. The thickness pattern creates acoustic zones that channel sound along predetermined paths while blocking transmission in other directions. Modern concert halls employ computer modeling and advanced materials to achieve comparable acoustic control. Carnegie Hall uses scientifically calculated dimensions, surface angles, and absorption materials to optimize sound quality. The Minoan Palace complex achieved similar results using Bronze Age technology and geometric knowledge. 3-dimensional acoustic engineering executed with stone blocks and bronze tools. Linear A-tablets from Knossos contain references to sound rooms and speaking chambers, according to partial translations by archaeologist Gareth Owens. Administrative records mention officials responsible for chamber voices and regulations governing sound paths throughout the palace. The labyrinth wasn't built to confuse visitors. It was designed to control their auditory experience through calculated manipulation of architectural acoustics. Religious ceremonies occurred in acoustically optimized spaces designed for their specific functions. The lustral basin chamber enhances chanting through calculated reverberation times. Ritual processions followed routes that amplify footsteps and ceremonial music. Administrative meetings took place in rooms that prevent eavesdropping while allowing clear internal communication. Royal audiences happened in spaces that project the ruler's voice while masking conversations among courtiers. Recent excavations revealed additional acoustic features. Stone-lined channels beneath floor level carry sound between rooms without visible connections. Bronze fittings show evidence of mechanical sound amplification devices, speaking tubes that enhanced voice transmission across long distances. Minoan engineers integrated acoustic infrastructure into palace construction. Like modern buildings, incorporate electrical and plumbing systems. Experimental archaeology, using full-scale reconstructions, confirms the acoustic properties. Teams from Oxford and Cambridge built partial palace replicas using original construction techniques. Sound behavior matches computer models and ancient acoustic performance. Bronze Age Minoans understood wave mechanics, frequency resonance, and architectural acoustics at levels matching modern engineering schools. Whisper, echo, silence. If you value documented ancient history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. I'll also comment from which city you're hearing this from, 5 mysteries, 5 challenges to everything historians claim about ancient capabilities. The Antikythera mechanism proves Bronze Age Greeks mastered precision engineering. The Phaistos disk demonstrates movable type printing 3 millennia early. Delphi reveals geological knowledge that borders on modern chemistry. The Lycurgus cup shows nanotechnology executed with ancient tools. Knossos displays acoustic architecture rivaling computer-designed concert halls. Each discovery forces uncomfortable questions about technological timelines and knowledge transfer. Did ancient Greeks independently develop these capabilities, or did they inherit more advanced predecessors? Why do these technologies appear in isolation without clear developmental progression? How much knowledge disappeared during historical transition periods? Recent excavations at Akrotiri on Santorini revealed Bronze Age frescoes depicting landscapes from civilizations that shouldn't have existed according to conventional chronology. Ground-penetrating radar surveys at Knossos show additional underground chambers still sealed after 4,000 years. Marine archaeology continues recovering impossible artifacts from Mediterranean shipwrecks, dated centuries before their alleged invention. But the greatest mystery lies not in individual artifacts, but in their systematic disappearance. Advanced technologies flourished, then vanished without explanation. Knowledge that took millennia to redevelop suggests either catastrophic loss events or deliberate suppression. The archaeological record shows gaps where sophisticated capabilities simply stop appearing in material culture. In 2019, construction workers expanding the Athens metro system struck an unmarked chamber 17 meters below modern street level. Initial surveys revealed Bronze Age pottery mixed with Roman coins and Byzantine jewelry spanning 2,000 years of continuous deposition. At the chamber bottom, archaeologists found a stone tablet covered in symbols, matching no known ancient script. The chamber walls show tool marks consistent with precision cutting techniques found at other mysterious Greek sites. Carbon dating places the construction around 1300 BCE, the height of Bronze Age collapse when advanced civilizations across the Mediterranean simultaneously failed. The tablet remains untranslated. 5 ancient mysteries become 6. Greece keeps her secrets buried deep.